CTEVT Anatomy Solution Part 3, Nervous System. All frequently asked questions answers for exam. Classify and summarize the function of nervous system. The nervous system is master and control system of our body. It is classified as the central nervous system, CNS, consisting of the brain and the spinal cord. The peripheral nervous system, PNS, consisting of all the nerves outside the brain and spinal cord. The autonomic nervous system, ANS, has two divisions, sympathetic and parasympathetic. The functions of nervous system are: control all other system, help to maintain homeostasis, help to maintain body posture, balance, temperature, etc., help in respiration, circulation, digestion, etc., respond to stimulus of receptors, reflex action, etc. Describe the structure of a neuron with diagram. Neuron is the structural and functional unit of the nervous system. Each neuron consists of a cell body and its processes, one axon and many dendrites. Gray matter is formed by cell bodies and white matter is formed by axon and dendrites. Dendrites carry nerve impulse towards cell body and axon carries impulse away from the cell body. Bundles of axons bound together are called nerves. Neurons cannot divide, and for survival they need a continuous supply of oxygen and glucose. Neurons generate and transmit electrical impulses called action potentials. Transmission of nerve signals is both electrical and chemical. List the types of neurons. The types of neurons are: on the basis of number of processes, neurons can be classified as unipolar neuron, e.g., nucleus of trigeminal nerve; bipolar neuron, e.g., neuron in retina, cochlea and olfactory neuron; multipolar neuron, commonest neuron; pseudonipolar, e.g., dorsal root of ganglion. On the basis of function, neuron can be classified as sensory or afferent neuron, motor or efferent neuron, mixed neuron. On the basis of presence of myelin sheath, neuron can be classified as myelinated neuron, non-myelinated neuron. Define synapse. Draw its well-labeled diagram and mention its types. A junction between two neurons or neuron and effector organs is called synapse. Its types are axodendritic synapse, axoaxonic synapse, axosomatic synapse, Fig. Synapse. Define neurotransmitter. List the name of few neurotransmitters. Neurotransmitter is a chemical substance that acts as a mediator for the transmission of nerve impulse from one neuron to another neuron through a synapse. The name of few neurotransmitters are adrenaline, non-adrenaline, dopamine, serotonin. Write down the extent of spinal cord. Spinal cord is continuous above with medulla and extends from atlas to the lower border of first lumbar vertebrae. Define neuroglia. Name different types of neuroglial cells with their functions. The neurons of the central nervous system are supported by four types of non-excitable glial cells called neuroglia. The different types of neuroglial cells with their functions are astrocytes. The blood-brain barrier is a selective barrier formed by astrocyte and wall of capillary to protect the brain from potentially toxic substances and chemical variations in the blood. Oligodendrocytes. The oligodendrocytes form and maintain myelin, having the same functions as Schwann cells in peripheral nerves. Ependymal cells. These cells form the epithelial lining of the ventricles of the brain and the central canal of the spinal cord. They produce CSF. Microglia. These cells may be derived from monocytes that migrate from the blood into the nervous system before birth. They protect nervous tissue from infections. Define CSF, its formation, absorption, circulation and functions and composition. Cerebrospinal fluid, CSF, is a clear, colorless, liquid or modified tissue fluid, produced by choroid plexuses in brain. Formation of CSF. The bulk of the CSF is formed by the choroid plexuses, 90%, of the lateral ventricles, and lesser amounts by the choroid plexuses of the third and fourth ventricles. Total CSF volume is approximately 150 milliliters, of which 125 milliliters is intracranial. Secreted at the rate of 0.35 to 0.40 milliliters per minute, i.e. 504-576 milliliters per day. Absorption of CSF. CSF is absorbed into the venous system through arachnoid villi at superior sagittal sinus. Composition of CFS. Water 99%. Sodium chloride. Potassium. Glucose. Plasma protein. Color of CSF crystal clear. Few lymphocytes, no RBC, no neutrophils. Functions of CSF are: serves as cushion, shock absorber, supports brain and spinal cord float. It nourishes CNS. CSF removes metabolites. It serves as pathway for pineal secretion. It regulates intracranial pressure. Circulation or flow or pathway of CSF. Cerebrospinal fluid is secreted into the lateral ventricle by the choroid plexus formed by ependymal cells. CSF moves toward third ventricle through interventricular foramen. From third ventricle CSF goes to fourth ventricle through cerebral aqueduct. Few amount of CSF moves straight toward central canal and rest flows toward subarachnoid space through connecting foramina. From subarachnoid space it passes towards superior sagittal venous sinus through arachnoid villus and finally get mixed with blood. Write down the functions of cerebrum, medulla oblongata and cerebellum. The functions of cerebrum. Mental activities involved in memory, intelligence, thinking, reasoning, moral sense and learning. Sensory reception, including the perception of pain, temperature, touch, sight, hearing, taste and smell. Initiation and control of skeletal muscle contraction and therefore voluntary movement. It controls all the activities of pituitary glands by releasing the different essential hormones. It involves in the processing of some emotions and complex reflexes also. Cerebellum. The cerebellum is concerned with the coordination of voluntary muscular movement, posture and balance. The cerebellum also controls the timing and fineness of complex motor actions like learning, writing and language processing and even in precise action. It also controls walking, speech, eye movements etc. Medulla oblongata. It relays nerve impulses between the spinal cord and the brain. Controls autonomic functions like cardiovascular activities, respiratory activities etc. Regulates mood. Coordinates movements of the body. It is the reflex center for coughing, vomiting, sneezing, swallowing. It is the vasomotor center, baroreceptors. Describe the structure of spinal cord and its main functions. The spinal cord is the elongated and cylindrical part of the CNS. It is suspended in the vertebral foramen canal, surrounded by the meninges and CSF. It is continuous above with medulla and extends from atlas to the lower border of first lumbar vertebrae. It is approximately 45 centimeters long and is about the thickness of little finger. A cross-section of the spinal cord shows that it is composed of gray matter in the center surrounded by white matter on one side. The arrangement of gray matter in the spinal cord resembles the shape of the letter H, having 2 posterior, 2 anterior and 2 lateral columns. The area of gray matter lying transversely is pierced by the central canal, an extension from the fourth ventricle, containing cerebrospinal fluid. Its main functions are: forms a connecting link between the brain and the PNS, provides structural support and builds a body posture, facilitates flexible movements. Myelin present in the white matter acts as an electrical insulation. Communicates messages from the brain to different parts of the body. Coordinates reflexes. Define reflex action. Describe reflex arc with figure. A reflex action is an involuntary and immediate motor response to a sensory stimulus. Fig. Reflex arc. A reflex arc is composed of sensory unit, sensory organ and sensory nerve. Control center, spinal cord. Motor unit, effectors organ and motor nerve. Write down the names of cranial nerves with their locations and functions. The names of cranial nerves with their locations and functions are: C. N. Name of cranial nerve. Type of nerve. Functions. I. Olfactory. Sensory. Sense of smell. 2. Optic. Sensory. Visual sensation. 3. Oculomotor. Motor. Movement of eye and regulating the size of pupil. IV. Trochlear. Motor. Movement of eye. V. Trigeminal. Mixed. Chewing and sensation from the face. V. Abducent. Motor. Movement of eye. 7. Facial. Mixed. Sense of taste and movement of facial expression. 8. Vestibulocochlear. Sensory. Maintenance of balance and hearing sensation. X. Glossopharyngeal. Mixed. Secretion of saliva and sense of taste. X. Vagus. Mixed. Secretory function and parasympathetic action. 11. Accessory. Motor. Movement of the head, pharynx, and larynx. 12. Hypoglossal. Motor. Movement of tongue. Differentiate between sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system.